May we be seated. Order, honorable members. We come to notices of motion. Does any member wish to give notice of a motion? Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, Madam House Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the failure of the government to hand over title deeds to residents of Mabopane for houses they bought from the government of the former Bubuta Tswana, despite its dissolution more than 20 years ago, and measures to ensure that property owners receive their rightful title deeds as a matter of urgency. I so move.
Honorable Lowe.
Thank you, Chair. I rise on behalf of the EFF and that in its next sitting, the House debates the effectiveness of the Department of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs intervention in functional municipalities, in particular rural municipalities who continue to function in a state chaos. I so move.
Honorable Member.
Thank you, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, it debate the review of the effectiveness of the Batupili principles. I so move.
Honorable Filtane.
Thank you, Chair. I rise on behalf of the United Democratic Movement and propose that the House in its next sitting debates the slow pace of transformation in the construction industry, as well as the socio-economic consequences thereof. I so move.
Honorable Member, next to Honorable Law.
Thank you, House Chair. I rise on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters that in its next sitting, the House debates the increasing political intolerance in the country, the responsibility that lies with political parties to educate their organizers on the ground not to resort to violence when there are differences. Sometimes that must also be addressed to the Speaker of this House. I so move.
Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the rise of extremism as a cause of political and security instability and its impact on economic development in Africa. Hi.
Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates ways to mobilize the private sector and state-owned enterprises to support the small businesses and cooperative sectors through the creation of incubators and working with the enterprises in the townships. I so move.
Honorable Member of the IFP.
Honorable House Chairperson, on behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, I shall move at the next sitting of this House that the House debate the continuing crisis and the loss of skills retention in the Department of Human Settlement, which is evidenced by the number of very senior positions that are being currently filled in only acting capacity. And that step must be immediately implemented to ensure skill stability at senior level in the department. I so move.
Thank you. Honorable Member of the EFF. You.
Honorable House Chair, I rise on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters that in its sitting, the House debates constructing a progressive economic program to transform Africa from being a net exporter of natural resources into being an economy that beneficiates and industrializes its raw materials. And I so move.
Honorable Member of the DA.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the maintenance plan on new infrastructure like Guyana's new water infrastructure to ensure that it does not deteriorate to the same extent that water infrastructure did in ANC government municipalities like Maribeng and Makana, where water tankers are now delivering water to the people.
Honorable Mkwankwa.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I move on behalf of the United Democratic Movement that at its next sitting, the House debates the need to eliminate explicit and implicit barriers to competition in sectors and subsectors where the rationale for state intervention is weak. I so move.
But in its next sitting, the House debates the implementation of measures to reduce high bank fees and charges on consumers and businesses. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member of the DA.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the failure of the South African Police Services to invoke Section 205 of the Constitution by not protecting the Baviaans municipality assets and the citizens, even though there was a court order to that effect. I thank you.
Honorable Member of the EFF.
Thanks, House Chair. I rise on behalf of the EFF to move that in its next sitting, the House debates the use, the preparedness, and the effectiveness of the South African military in solving problems in Africa and how their actions foster the ideals of African unity. I so move.
Thank you. Honorable Member of the EFF for the back.
I rise on behalf of the EFF to move that in its next sitting, the House debates the inefficiencies of the criminal justice system, resulting in a large number of inmates held for years in jail without trial to prove their guilt or innocent. I so move.
Thank you. Honorable Member of the DA.
Thanks, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the boxing broadcasting deal between Boxing South Africa, the SABC, and the Department of Sports and Recreation. I so move.
That in its next sitting, the House debates ways to stabilize the labor environment, improving disputes resolutions, and shop floor relations. Thank you.
Thank you. I note the Member of the DA.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic
Member, and I think that assistance and still my proposal stands. Can we proceed with the motions? Honorable Member.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. I rise on behalf of the ANC to move without notice that the House, one, notes with deep shock the death of 7 family members, a grandmother, her daughter, and 5 children who were killed in a shack fire in Chazimpunzi Street, Port Elizabeth, on Wednesday morning, the 12th of August instant. 2, further notes that the Jamane family were living in the shack in the backyard of their RDB house, which was under construction when the horrific shack fire occurred. Thirdly, supports the investigation and the inquest on this matter so as to ascertain the cause of the fire and the death of the Jamane family, and hopes that the outcome of the investigation and inquest will respectively assist in preventing similar incidents from happening again, as well as reveal the nature and cause of the death of the Jamane family members, so as to put closure on this serious matter. And lastly, convey deepest condolences to the Jamane family, friends, and relatives during these difficult times. I thank you, Honorable House Chair.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
Honorable Chair, the community of Ward 6, they have chased Daniel Jordan away there. We object with the